Hello ladies and gentlemen, this is KairoS and welcome back to Naval Action Rags to Riches. So as you probably noticed, this series has been on a bit of a hiatus lately. I was concentrating on making tutorials for this game instead, and always intended to come back to it, but I sort of let it go for a bit. And in the last few weeks, it seems to have gone kind of viral, and it's currently the most popular series currently running on my channel, which is actually kind of surprising to me. So thank you everyone for the support, and I'm glad that this has met with positive feedback. So I'm coming back to it, as I now consider it something of a duty to get these videos out to you a bit more promptly. So the series is back online, and Master Commandant Beauclerk has recently captured a prize. If you recall from last episode, we can actually go and have a look at the shipyard here. I think we still have it in this fleet. Yes, we do. We captured a Trader's Snow last episode. And inside this Trader's Snow, we have 75 units of white oak, seasoned white oak, in fact. Now that is going to sell for a pretty penny in a friendly trading port. So this episode, we're going to discuss how to put things on auction. Well, contract actually. Auction is for ships. Contract is going to be for your provisions and so on. So we'll discuss how we can put some of our supplies on contract specifically for other players to find and purchase and make us very, very rich very, very fast. So let's have a look at this map here. And the political situation has changed somewhat in the last few weeks. Nassau is now back in the control of the pirates, which is nice to see. I don't think I've ever seen Nassau actually a pirate port in the years that I've been playing this game, so that's nice. The British are also sort of coming back to life after mysteriously disappearing from the map for a few weeks there, but they seem to be re-establishing their foothold in the Caribbean. We still have a nest of pirates up here in the Gulf of Mexico. W2F clan and Toxin seem to... Oh, and Larder as well. WTF's down there. Anyway, familiar pirate clans. Anyone who knows the politics of the pirates knows these names. Meanwhile, it appears that we have Americans actually where Americans are supposed to be. So it seems we have secured the coast of Florida, more or less. We have Rio Seco back in our control, Jobez in our control, and I believe Cayo Biscayno is also in our control. So that's excellent. We've actually pushed down the coast a little bit here of Florida, and yes, we seem to have secured the west coast as well of the peninsula here. So that's excellent. We might actually find that the map is a little bit safer for us now than it was a few weeks ago. So that's going to help us a lot. We're going to be looking for a place to sell our wares, and I think our best bet is going to be Ice, however you pronounce that. We'll say Ice. Which, if you look there at the daily taxes, this is a tell. We've got 277,000 reales being spent there. So we know that there's stuff going down. That's also a region capital. You can see by the lines there that those yellow lines indicate that that is the region capital. So that's going to be our area we're going to want to be thinking about looking at, see what kind of market is going down over there on the Costa del Fuego. And we could come further north, of course, San Augustine, but notice there, I think this was a crafting port, if I recall correctly. I'm not sure, I can't remember, but there's nothing happening there. You can see taxes 0, that's great, but no daily taxes either, so no one's buying or selling anything there. So, I think our best bet is to try for ice first, and then if we don't find a good market there, we'll just make our way north, looking for any ports that have a good market, essentially. That's the plan for now. We've got a long voyage ahead of us. Let's actually get underway. It's night time now, so probably a good time to set sail. Hopefully we won't crash into any players along the way. Wish me luck. So we are making pretty good time. We're just leaving the Bahamas now, and so far we have not been pestered by any players, so that's fantastic. And while we're heading along, I suppose I should have a chat with you guys about something relevant. I had some comments actually in one of my other videos. I think it was the trade ship tutorial video I've got on my channel. A guy was asking whether or not you could have a fleet of trade ships and sort of what rules apply. And yes, you can have multiple trade ships, as I was answering him there. Let's just have a quick look at how this works. So if you recall, if we look in our fleet here, we have 2 ships here. We could have 3, even 4 if we wanted to. Okay, we could have a maximum of 4 ships, and yes, we could have 4 trade ships in our fleet if we wanted to. The more trade ships you have, the more risk would be obviously in each voyage, because you could lose 4 trade ships and all their cargo all at once. And yes, you can have cargo in multiple ships. If you're wondering where that is and where you can see it, it's in here in the fleet menu. And you can actually, while you're underway, this is perhaps not very realistic, but you can actually transfer cargo. So if you're starting to run out of room in your main ship, you can transfer, for example, this fish here into this other ship as long as you've got both these tabs open. Easy, you can see how I did that there. So you can actually transport cargo from one ship to the other very easily, and you can have a maximum of 4 trade ships in your fleet. You cannot enter an enemy port unless your entire fleet is comprised of trade ships. So even if your main ship is a trade ship, and say you've got an escort with you, doesn't matter, you still can't enter the port, as far as I'm aware, with a warship in your fleet. I'm pretty sure they haven't changed that lately. Last I checked, that's the way it was. And what else is there? Oh yes, you can't, your hold optimization perk, if you recall, only applies to your main ship. It will not apply for your entire fleet. So that's something important to note if you're thinking about calculating how much cargo you can carry. Keep in mind that the hold optimization perk, which will give you like 20% more cargo space, only applies for whatever ship you have set as your main. In this case, the Mercury is our main. But if we set the Trader Snow to our main, then we would have that bonus on our Trader Snow instead. So that's how trade ships work out on the open world. You can transport cargo from one to the other, and you can very happily enter enemy ports and so on, providing you do not have a warship in your fleet. Good stuff. I have come a little further north than I necessarily need to grab that wind boost there, as you can see. When you're approaching a port, we're going to try eyes first. It's preferable with your trade ships full of cargo, you want to be wind boosted if possible. So if there is an enemy player waiting near the entrance of the port, you can skedaddle in whatever direction the wind will dictate. And if you're really lucky, you'll be able to escape to the next port. Sometimes they will be waiting for you, and especially at well-known trading hubs, they will be there just waiting for players to pop out in and out of the port with their cargo ships. So if you can outrun them, that would be ideal. Of course, you can see we're doing, with the accelerated time, we're doing 38, 39, hovering around 38 knots there. So that's going to outrun most ships, probably. Unless it's a very fast wind-boosted Princeton Neuchâtel or something, we'll probably be able to get away from that. Because we did get a pretty good wind boost, I think 60% wind boost. So keep that in mind as well when you're approaching ports. There's another wind boost there. So if we do see an enemy player, we want to be thinking, which way can we go? Probably the closest port with the wind in our favor will be San Sebastian. So we'll head off in that direction. So when you're approaching a port, always be thinking of your escape plan. If a player appears down there with the wind in their favor, we're going to want to turn away and get as far away from them as quickly as possible. Keep your eyes on the horizon, especially when approaching a port. Coming in and out of ports is by far the most dangerous time for you if you're doing trading runs. You're usually pretty safe when you're out in the open waters, but especially when coming in and out of ports, you want to be very much aware of what's going on around you. I think we're almost at eyes now, so unless we see any players, I shall cut here and get back to you once we're actually in in port. Okay, we are safely in port, and when you're thinking of where to sell your goods, you want to be looking at a few things, actually. So in this case, we're going to be selling rare woods. So we want to be selling these at a port where those rare woods are being used. So a crafting port, somewhere where players are using a lot of shipyards to build a lot of, you know, 5th and 6th rates and so on. So the first thing you probably want to do is go to your ship auction here and check, and this will be for any nation the same. Basically, you do this when you're not sure where you are. I have rare woods to sell. Is this the place to sell them? We shall find out. Let's search. There are no 6th rates on sale. Are there any 5th rates on sale here? There's one. Old Ironsides here is selling an Admiralty crafted frigate. So this does not look like a crafting port for this particular nation. Let's have a look at the actual market here. So if we go to the shop, check resources, is anyone selling rare woods or something similar? Well, we've got plenty of very nice trading goods here, but these are spawned by the AI. It's just spawning these. These aren't players putting these on sale. This is trade goods that the specific to this particular port. So it doesn't look like anyone is selling stuff here, which means we are not going to be putting our goods on sale here. We need to find a trading port, because people are much more likely to buy those rare woods if they don't have to transport them from A to B. So they're going to come to a port and they're going to wonder, oh, okay, I'm going to do some crafting in this port, whatever it might be that I have my shipyard in. Let's check the market and see if there are any cheap rare woods on sale. Not that rare woods are ever cheap, but you know what I mean. So you want to put them in a port where they're going to be a tempting purchase. This is not going to be that port. So we're going to have to continue our voyage. And that means we're probably going to head next to San Augustine up north. So I'm going to get the ships back underway. And once the wind turns, we will head north. Yes, well now this is a aspect of the game that everyone is going to encounter at some point or another. You have a voyage in mind, and you have a very specific route you're going to be taking, and you just have to wait for the wind to turn in your favor. As you can see right now, we don't have a particularly fair wind for our course, so we're just going to sit here at the side of, at the front, I should say, of eyes here, and wait for the wind. And just keep an eye on the horizon, see if we can see any players pottering around. You'll also want to be watching the combat news here. We can see there's stuff going down at Tumbalo. We can see Little Harbour is a hotspot at the moment. Looks like Brown Cow here has been handing it to the pirates as usual. We're always getting beaten up for some reason. Pirates, I don't know what the story is there. So we just sit here and fish while we wait. And I will drink my tea, which I have made while I wait for the wind to turn. One of the few perks of actually being in Australia is, as opposed to America, is the infinitely superior tea. That being said, I am looking forward to getting back to America, where they actually have decently portioned meals. So we'll just sit here for a couple more minutes, and then we'll just head in that direction you can see. Obviously, if we see a player pop out of here, we're going to want to get back into port pretty quick. But it can be beneficial for you if you're preparing a voyage just to sit out the front of your port for a little while before you actually get underway, regardless of the wind, just to check whether there's anyone, you know, doing shark circles, waiting for you to fall into their trap. But I think probably about now, actually, we can set sail. There doesn't seem to be anything on the horizon that's a threat to us, so we can make our way towards our destination. There should be a wind boost up here somewhere, and then we're going to head straight into San Augustine. This is obviously going to be a much more dangerous part of the voyage because we're going to be running along the coast. So the chances of seeing an enemy player are considerably higher. We just have to hope for the best, I guess. Okay, we have made it to San Augustine. Fairly uneventful voyage, no trouble from players. And I have just dropped our seasoned white oak into this warehouse here for now, so we can easily access it. We want to doubly check, just quickly, that this is indeed a crafting port. So to do that, we're going to want to look into our ship auction, as we did earlier. And lo and behold, we do indeed have ships that are being sold here. Donald McDogan here is selling this Indiaman, which has indeed been crafted in San Augustine. And you can see the port bonuses there, which tells us that this is going to be a crafting port. So now we'll check the shop and actually see what resources are going here. Hopefully, plenty. And look at that, live oak log. Now this is being produced by the port, because you can see owned there. No one is selling this. No one is buying or selling this. There's no contract up for this, so we know it is being produced by the port, which is fantastic. We have all the normal trade goods as well. And if we continue scrolling down, we should see, eventually, we should get to, look, coal is being sold, hemp. This is definitely going to be our main market, I think. And here we go. Some players have on contract Malabar teak. It's being sold for, you know, 24,000, nearly 25,000 reales per log. Per log, or per unit, I should say. That's pretty impressive. So you're going to make a lot of money if you manage to capture a ship full of this stuff. If we continue scrolling down, we see more crafting resources, Cartagena tar, all that good stuff. And if we go down, I don't think, doesn't look like we have any, here we go, seasoned woods. This is, you can tell these are seasoned woods by the red mark there. So we don't, doesn't look like we have any, there's some teak. Doesn't look like we have any white oak for sale. Seasoned white, here we go, there's some seasoned white. So you see here, we could just sell that for 250. Don't do that. Don't do it. Okay, that's what the port is asking. No one has this on contract, so no one is actually asking for any of this. I will show you how contracts work just quickly. Okay, so if we go up to live oak, we click on this, we can see that a fellow named Stout Crocs here is actually asking, he's a buyer, he's put a buyer contract up. So he's asking for a total of or over 3,000 units of this, and he wants 4,000 reales per unit, which is a pretty reasonable price. I mean, you could probably get a lot more for that. But, you know, if we wanted to get rid of, say we had white oak instead of, live oak instead of white oak, we could instantly sell that and just get rid of it without having to put a contract up. We can just sell our stuff to Stout Crux here. Now, down here we have the sellers. So this is a guy who's put up a sell contract. He is selling, not buying, but selling 49 units. So this is probably some timber that, like us, he picked up off a trade ship somewhere. And he's selling it for 6,000, reales per unit. So what we want to be doing here, because there are no buyer contracts up for this particular wood, we want to be placing a sell contract for our timber. So let us put this up for, I think this will go for, I reckon we could get more than 6,000 per log. I reckon we could go up to, we saw teak being sold for 7,000 per log. I'm not entirely sure what the going rate is for all these. Let's actually put this up for 6,500, which seems reasonable to me. I'm thinking if all the other rare woods are going for around 8,000 per log or per unit, let's double check here. We got, yeah, I think that's reasonable. We'll learn, there's only one way to know, and that is to put the contract up. So what we're going to do, and I do think that is fairly reasonable for a seasoned wood. So let's actually place our contract right now. So you'll see here your contracts where you can actually view them. We don't have any up. We can put a maximum of 10 lots up. And one of those contracts is just about to be placed now. So we should have 9 left once we finished here. But you want this button, place contract. And here you have the option to be a buyer or a seller. In this case, we're a seller. So if you put a buy contract up, you're saying, I want this for this much. So let's say we were looking for African oak. We'd say, how much are we prepared to pay for it? I don't know. Maybe we'd be prepared to pay 15,000 per unit, which is pretty reasonable. And then you say how much you want. Let's say 40, and that will be the total there. And so if we were to place that contract, that's how much we would, that's how much we'd be prepared to pay for those things. And eventually another player would hopefully see that contract and actually fulfill it for us and sell their stuff to us. But we're not doing that today. We're actually doing a sell contract. So what are we going to be selling? We're going to be selling timber, so resources, and then White Oak S. See, it pops up there because that's what's in our inventory. White Oak S, we're going to offer 6,500 per unit price, and amount we have 75. We might as well, if we wanted to be safe, we could put maybe half of this up for sale and see how well we do, and maybe the price will get better. But just for the sake of this, because I want to get rid of it, we'll put it up for that price and we'll get rid of all of it. And now you can see that we'll have to pay, normally we'd have to pay a port tax, goods tax, but we don't have to in this case. So I don't think. Anyway, the final price is 487,500 reales. So that's a lot of reales for us at this point, considering we've only got 100,000. Now we'll just click place contract, and you'll see their details. Double check that, make sure it's all correct, and you will confirm once you've gone over all the details. You are sure that you want to post this contract. Sell contract, yes, it's a sell contract. Confirm, and this will now disappear from our warehouse and go on contract. We can now look at our contracts, and you'll see it there. We have 15 days, real world days, to actually sell that, and then it will go back into our inventory. If it expires, we can cancel it and put it back in our inventory. But that will now sit there for 15 days until somebody comes along and says, yeah, I'll have that, thank you very much. Which gives you an idea of the kind of timescales we're talking about for playing this game. This is very much a slow, long haul kind of game. You know, you can put a contract up and it might be a couple of weeks before it actually gets sold, depending on how reasonable a price you've asked for it. So we're in for the long haul here, but that will sit there quite happily, doing absolutely nothing, and eventually somebody will hopefully buy those logs, because we have put them up for a fairly reasonable price. That is how contracts work in Naval Action. So I think that will do for this episode. We'll just keep it nice and short and simple here. I'll try and post more often for this series, because I'm aware, as I said at the beginning of this video, that this has miraculously become the most popular series on my channel currently. So I hope you've all enjoyed this episode. I hope I'm still putting some useful information out there for you guys. This has been KairoS. I will see you all in the next episode.